week 6 of the fantasy football season, and here's the start sits of every matchup at the tight end position this week. The first matchup, the Washington Commanders at the Chicago Bears. So right here, the Commanders, this offense, they've been banged up a little bit over the last few weeks here. But Logan Thomas, we know he missed week 5's ball game with an injury, and we don't know if he's going to suit up here with the calf injury in week 6. But if he does, he's a player I have as a borderline start at a weak tight end position. The last few weeks here, a lot of tight ends, they really haven't gotten anything going, and they've been underperforming. So right here, Logan Thomas, he's a guy, if he does play in this one, I think can make a few plays versus a weak Bear defense here versus the tight ends. And I think he's a borderline play this week. Now, Cole Kmet had his best game of the season with 4 catches for over 40 yards, but he's still a tight end I can't trust. He hasn't done anything pretty much the whole season. I know it's a good matchup versus the Commanders here for Cole Kmet, but right now, he's not a guy I could trust yet as a tight end option after coming off just a mediocre game, not even a great ball game, and this Bear offense being in flux all season. So I got Cole Kmet as a sit this week. The next ball game, the Minnesota Vikings at the Miami Dolphins. So right here, both tight ends I have as sit options this week. Irv Smith Jr., I know had a decent bounce back ball game, but he's still so inconsistent, and there's so many weapons on that offense in Minnesota over him. So I know Irv Smith, 4 catches, 42 yards, but that's pretty much been his ceiling for the most part this season in terms of yards. I know he's had a few ball games with touchdowns, but he's still a guy I can't trust, even with the bye weeks here. And maybe in deeper leagues, he's a start. But I got him a sit this week. And Mike Gesicki, now with all the problems at quarterback over there in Miami, with Skylar Thompson probably starting this ball game with Bridgewater with a concussion and an elbow injury here. Mike Gesicki's done nothing for the last few weeks. This Dolphin offense, I don't know what's going to happen with most of these guys, but I just can't trust Gesicki in this one. So he's a sit now to the Patriots and the Cleveland Browns. So right now I'm sitting Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith. This Patriot offense, they're built on running the football and defense, and these tight ends really haven't done anything all season here. I know Hunter Henry had a decent ball game in week 5 versus the Detroit Lions, but he's still not a guy that's valuable in my opinion for fantasy football is Hunter Henry. With the 4 catches, 54 yards are great, but he's done nothing all season besides that. So after one pretty decent week here, he's not a guy I'm going to go out there and start. And Jonnu Smith, he's pretty much a blocking tight end at this point, not a guy in the receiving game like he was over there in Tennessee a few years ago. So right now they're both sits. And David Njoku, I'm not a big fan of Njoku. I know he's been up and down throughout his NFL career. One great game, one bad game. But you got to start him this week here with the bye weeks and a few injuries at the tight end position. I'm not going to say he's a monster start this week here as Njoku, but he's probably a guy that's going to crack the top 12. And I got him as a start this week. The next ball game, Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. So right now in this one, if Cameron Brate comes back off his concussion problems, I got him as a start is Cameron Brate and Cade Otton borderline in this ball game. So right now the Buccaneers offense is starting to click. They're starting to get things going. And Cade Otton had a decent ball game and had a decent amount of targets. But Cameron Brate, before he went down with injury, was playing pretty decent as well with a few 40 and 50 yard games. So right now, depending the injury and stuff, I got Otton as a sit if obviously Brate comes back, and Brate a borderline play. And now Muth left the ball game with concussion-like symptoms. And if he don't play, obviously he's a sit. And Zach Gentry, I have him as a borderline play because Gentry, I mentioned, is a waiver wire ad. Him and Kenny Pickett have good rapport coming off the second team in the preseason and obviously training camp. So right now, if Muth plays, he's a start. If he don't play, Zach Gentry is a borderline start this week here in that ball game. Then on to San Francisco and the Atlanta Falcons. And George Kittle finally had his best game of the season here, where he was getting peppered with targets from Jimmy Garoppolo. And he's got a great matchup this week versus the Falcons. I know he still didn't have a great ball game, 5 catches, 47 yards, and a fumble as Kittle, but I think he's going to have a big one in this one. He could be a top 5 tight end this week here. I know it hasn't been great and ideal, the situation, but I got Kittle as a start this week, and now Kyle Pitts, if he comes back from his injury, I got him as a borderline play. I'm probably going to start him if I have him in leagues, which I don't though. But if I'm a Pitts owner and I don't have better options, you're probably starting him. But this week here, I'm not expecting much out of him versus a tough defense in San Francisco. And let's be honest, besides one ball game this season, Kyle Pitts has done nothing. And guys on the waiver wire have had better ball games than him. Now to the Bengals and the New Orleans Saints. So right here, Hayden Hurst, he's starting to merge over here in this offense for Cincinnati. So I got him as a start this week, and a guy who's the best pickup at the tight end position this week. So right now, you go out there, you pick up Hurst if you need a tight end. Like if you got a Tyler Conklin or something, or someone along those lines, or a Pat Freiermuth, and you need a replacement, Hurst is out there still in tons of fantasy leagues in 71%. And coming off a good ball game, 6 catches, 53 yards, and a touchdown versus the Ravens. So right here, New Orleans, I think he has a decent ball game, and I got him as a start. And now to the Saints side of things, Juwan Johnson, he's been up and down this season. I got him as a sit. You can't rely on him. And Troutman, I got him as an ad this week, but he's still a guy I'm not going to have great confidence in going out there and put him in my lineup. It's a guy to stash on my bench. Yeah, why not? Because he did score a touchdown in last week's ball game in week 5. But this week here, I can't trust any of them, and I got him as sits. More Ravens at the New York Giants. Mark Andrews, what am I going to say? He's had one bad game this year. He's number 1, number 2 tight end this season, best at the position. And you start him each and every week no matter what, so he's a starter. Now to the Giants, Daniel Bellinger. He had a touchdown in week 5's ball game. And this Giant team, they don't have many guys on the outside who can make plays in the receiving game. So Bellinger, I'm not going to start him this week, but he's a guy to definitely keep an eye on, and a guy I did mention on the waiver wire. But versus Baltimore this week here, I just can't trust him as a tight end to put in my lineup, so I got him as a sit. If we see more from him, then things could change. Now to the Jets at the Green Bay Packers. So Tyler Conklin, he had great rapport with Joe Flacco and had big fantasy days, but the last 2 weeks here, the numbers have gone down for Conklin, and in week 5, he had the old goose egg for the New York Jets versus the Miami Dolphins. So right now, Conklin, he's a guy I really can't trust. He was good the first 3-4 weeks of the season here, but now versus a tough Green Bay defense, I'm sitting him this week. Now to the Packers side of things, I know Tanyan hasn't had the greatest of games, but I think in this one versus the New York Jets, he could find a few holes in that middle of the field here, make some plays. And Aaron Rodgers, he's been spreading the football out right now to his Packer guys. So I think Tanyan this week here, I'm not expecting a great game, but he's still a guy I got on the start side of things. Now to the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Indianapolis Colts. So Evan Ingram finally had a good ball game, but he's still not a guy I'm going to have confidence to start each and every week. So I got him as a borderline guy this week. Here's Ingram. I need to see more out of him, but he's definitely a pickup on the wire this week. But besides that, he's not a guy I'm going to plug right in to my starting lineup right away. So if you need a tight end option, I got him borderline. Now to the Colts side of things, well, Wally Cox, I know a few weeks ago had a 2-touchdown game, and Jelani Woods looked good a few weeks ago. But these guys, every few weeks, they have a big ball game, and you just can't trust them. So right now, they're out there in 99% of fantasy leagues for a reason, and they are sit this week. Now to the Cardinals and the Seattle Seahawks. So right here, Zach Ertz, second best target on the team here for the Cardinals. He's an every week start. He's a guy that's at least going to get 9 or more fantasy points in PPR each week. He's a starter. Now to Seattle side of things, I got Noah Fant as a sit and Will Disley as a borderline start this week. Disley was a touchdown dependent tight end, and week 5 that just didn't happen for him. So right now, tight end's a tough position this season, and there's a lot of guys I just don't have confidence in at all is starting. So Disley borderline and Fant a sit, because Seattle, it's more about DK Metcalf obviously and Tyler Lockett in that offense. Now to the Panthers and the Los Angeles Rams, Ian Thomas, number 1 tight end over there for the Panthers, and he's done nothing all season, so he's an easy sit and a guy not owned in pretty much any fantasy league. And Tyler Higbee, number 2 target on this Ram team, and a guy you pretty much fire up each and every week as a top 10 tight end. Now to the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs. So Dawson Knox, we don't know if he's going to play in this game. He missed the week 5 ball game. Is Knox versus Pittsburgh, but even if he plays, he's a guy I can't trust. Now with Gabriel Davis looking more healthy, he had a big ball game. Even Shakir had a touchdown in this ball game as well, and Stephon Diggs. So right now, he's still a 3rd or 4th option on this Buffalo Bill offense. And Dawson Knox, yeah, he could come in if he comes back from injury and have a good game, but obviously I'm not going to count on it, and he's not a guy I'm going to start this week. And Travis Kelce, one of the best tight ends, 1 or 2, him and Andrews, whatever you want to say here, he's a start each and every week. Now to the Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday Night Football in Philly. Dalton Schultz, he's been banged up in the game in week 5, got banged up again but returned. But he's a guy that's done nothing this season here with Cooper Rush, and even if Dak comes back in this game, I'm not going to have confidence to throw Schultz in the lineup, so he's an easy sit this week. And now to the Eagles side of things, Dallas Goedert, he's a tight end in 12-team, even 10-team leagues each and every week, no matter the matchup. you're going to fire him up. He's a Jalen Hurts favorite in this offense. And this offense is so dynamic and have a lot of good pieces. Goddard is a starter now to the Los Angeles Chargers and Denver Broncos side of things. Right here, no one on the Broncos in the receiving game besides obviously Cortland Sutton are doing anything for this Bronco team. So Alberto and Andrew Beck, the top two tight ends over there in Denver, are sits for me. And now to the Chargers side of things, Gerald Everett, he's been pretty decent this season, but only had 1.20 fantasy points in Week 5 in that game versus the Browns. But I think in this one he gets a little more involved. And with a weak tight end position this season, I'm just going to roll the dice and say Everett to start this week. So that's the tight end start or sit of every matchup this week here for Week 6 of the fantasy football season.